Is it possible that everything you just said was a lie? You don't want to get sued.
Samsung, call me. Call me, please.
Drinkor, why didn't you buy the Necropolis supporter pack?
Because Necropolis was terrible.
Path of Exile 1 is a very special game for me. I hope I like that game too, but I don't know if that will have the same way for me.
I feel that, dude. I feel that feel so much.
Okay, I'm not gonna sell to Diablo 4 because I don't want to be like the Diablo 4 hater.
You can do.
It feels cheap. I don't want to be that kind of person.
It should have been all about world versus world. That was like the biggest selling point of that game, is that they have this crazy, like, 50 versus 50 versus 50 massive battles, and they're focusing on like telling stories, which, I mean, let's be real here, like.
Let me introduce you guys for the people here watching, and obviously probably the people watching the video when I post it on YouTube, because I'm not a streamer. I only do YouTube until Path of Exile 2 releases. Then I'm going full neck beard on the streaming side. I obviously done my OT hours, so I have like a month on the office. I have a month of the office off, so I'm gonna no life this game. So from my right side of the screen comes a guy who saw the imminent release of Path of Exile 2 and said, okay, now it's my time. The mechanical savant who provided a masterclass in game interactions with over 231 videos in a single year. Holy fucking shit. It is said that Mark II obviously wanted to cheat during an exam. He will have a picture of our guest under his sleeves. Give a warm welcome to the man, Drinkor. Happy to have you, man.
It's just an incredible intro, That's how long did you spend writing that one out?
10 minutes with a lot of stress inside my heart.
My God. Okay, yeah.
Don't worry.
I'm good. I'm happy to be on here. It's going to be a fun discussion, and that was a great intro.
Thank you, man. So, the other person here at my left. So, obviously, I'm reading this because on the fly it's gonna be a nightmare. So, the man who shut down a woman who called from the bank because he was too busy working. Or that is what he said to her. In reality, he was farming Greater Rift in Diablo 3. But even though he started his content creation career playing Diablo over 6 years ago, he finally found the superior game and promised successor to Diablo 2, Path of Exile. For the last 4 years, he has pumped thousands of guides to league mechanics and every currency strat there is for the Spanish-speaking community. So here we have Sneakmaster, also known as Kevin. Thank you for coming, brother.
Thank you for the invitation and nice research. I didn't expect that you see that clip from 100 years ago, but thanks again for the invitation.
It was a fun clip. I'm doing like a little bit of investigation. Like, have you ever seen the Nardwal videos? The guy that interviews like rappers, something like that. He comes with some weird question about their childhood, and the guys are like, "What the fuck, man? Where did you get that information?" It's super fun. Okay. Do you know what we are going to actually talk today?
No.
No. Perfect. Because the last time I have Croxy and I have Try, and they came here expecting to talk about Path of Exile 2, and I surprised them by talking about probably everything outside of Path of Exile. This is not going to be the case for you guys. I have a lot of Path of Exile discussion here, and obviously I'm improving every single time since the first episode. So this time it's gonna be less on wheels. We are going to go whatever you guys feel comfortable talking about. Okay? So I'm just going to ask you, Drinkor, a question, so we can start this thing off. So is it okay if I call you Drinkor, or you prefer Dream or any other?
Yeah, anything like that's fine. Yeah, Drinkor is fine.
Okay. And Kevin, I'm gonna just call you Kevin, right?
Kevin is fine. Yes.
on that topic, Sync Master was taken by any chance? That you needed to do the...
Like 20 years ago when I created my first account in a game called Mo Online.
Shit!
I tried a lot of cool names like Shadow or like Hellborn or like Ninja 666.
Yeah,
or
the cringy
like
names from 15-year-old.
Obviously, all were taken, and I'll start to seeing things around the PC and taking a lot of brands and changing letters. And Sync Master is a brand of a monitor.
Right.
And it was taken. So nobody was dumb enough to try to invert the name, and Sneak Master was the first try and went okay for the game, and I used that nickname a lot in a lot of games.
My monitor is actually a Samsung Sync Master, so there we go.
That's it.
So this conversation was coming from years, like this was going to happen.
When I start to making videos and start to streaming, some friends told me that change that name for a very marketable name.
Okay.
But I didn't like it because I feel that the Kevin 20 years ago, it's that essence of me trying to do games and videos and guides and all that. When the first time I search for a job, I have to change my my Hotmail, and I have a dumb name in my Hotmail. And at that point, I feel that something changed in my life. That I'm not more a child. I'm not more a young man. I'm something more serious. That same feeling come to me when they told me change your name for something more that could sell better. And I didn't like it, the idea. I know it's difficult to pronounce and not very good for sale, for marketing in general, but I keep it. If you can call me Sneak Master, nice. If you prefer Kevin, it's fine. But it's that why I didn't change the name, and it's why it's weird. It's a weird name.
Is it possible that everything you just said was a lie, and you just want to get like a sponsor from the monitor company, and you don't want to get sued?
Samsung, call me, please. Send me one more monitor, please.
Okay. So I'm gonna going back to the Mo Online that you just spit it out, because I was like a super hardcore Moon player. I have my own server, so I'm gonna go back to that one. Obviously legal, all legal, of course.
Sure, of course.
So, Dreamcore, I've been thinking lately on why Path of Exile 2 got delayed. For one reason that could be that they didn't have enough money and resources to fund the development of it. So my question is, why didn't you buy the Necropolis supporter pack?
Because Necropolis was terrible. So I've got a bit of a thing with supporter packs. I know that some people like to take a look at the supporter packs when they are first released, and they just buy them based on like the supporter pack, which I don't really have a problem with that, because obviously you're buying the pack based on its own merit, right? Like you see some nice MTX, you buy it because it's nice MTX. But the way I like to deal with supporter packs, because the game's free, is I basically treat it as if it was a purchase of the game. And I will only buy it if the league is good and I've like played the league a lot and I've enjoyed it, right? It's something that comes at the end of the league for me. It's like I buy a supporter pack because the league has been validated, basically.
So it's a like way for you.
This league, I bought a supporter pack. I didn't buy one of the ones that came out this league because I wasn't a big fan of them, but I upgraded one of my core supporter packs, like because I thought that Settlers League was amazing. It was like just a great league, and I played it a bunch. So that's that's like a validation for me that that's something, because it's like you could go into a shop, and buy a new AAA game, and it's going to cost you $70, right, or whatever the price. I don't know. I don't buy AAA games these days. I don't play any of those games really, but for me, that's the same thing, right? You're playing a game. It's a free game. Yes, you don't have to pay anything. There's plenty of people who don't pay anything for this game. They just play for free, and that's fine. That's kind of the whole point of a free-to-play game, is that people can come along and play for free if they want to. But yeah, I like to buy a supporter pack if I think that the league is good, and that's just my way of doing it, really. Yeah, I don't think I've ever bought any MTX for the sake of buying MTX. It's more a thing of like, I'm enjoying myself in the game, so I'm gonna spend some money on it.
Yeah, I think that's amazing to hear. Honestly, if more people were like you, I think we will have like a better gaming experience as a whole. Like, voting with your wallet is the best way to actually get good games in the future.
It is, yeah. And I think obviously companies will make better decisions for the player then, if we were all to do that. But at the same time, you also have to be mindful of the fact that there are people who spend a fortune on this game and barely play it, right? There are like whales that will just like buy crazy amounts of supporter packs. They'll buy every single MTX that comes in the store, and they play the game like half as much as I do, right? Or like a third as much as I do, just because they've got the money to spend. So I think, yes, it would be good if everybody had that same mindset, but at the same time, you can't like discredit the people that spend a ton of money on the game, because at the end of the day, they're funding the development of the game, right?
Yeah.
So it's just everyone, each to their own, really, with supporter packs.
Yeah, I think whales are pretty great to found a game, but the problem is when the game development start to actually change the game to cater to those players. I think that's the point of no return when we start to see like a decline of quality. Well, this is a Korean 101 that we see every single day with those kind of games. If you play, for example, Lost Ark or any of those, it's a nightmare. So
the system have changed a lot in the last 20 years. It's not the same. You bought in 2000. You bought a game in a box. You have the game and you keep it like it is. No more development.
No extra things.
No extra things. Correct. But now it's totally different. It's another game system, and this new system is very profitable. And
of course,
the developers know it, and the marketers know it. It's very popular now playing video games. The
live service.
The whole system is yes, and it's very predatory in these years, and it will become more predatory probably in the next years. The system that Dreamcore use is a good system, but I don't think that the majority of people thinks like that. It's a very smart form to improve the game and tell the developer, I like that the work you did the last season, the last patch, but it's very difficult to see that more often in the recent years.
Yeah, I think that like if you had your vote doesn't matter if then you sell the game to China and 20 million people bought 2,000 microtransactions. Like, your smart decision is gonna get diluted in a pool of a lot of people spending a lot of money. That's unfortunately something that we have to live with. It happens in movies. This happens in any creative media, honestly. I think that at the end of the day, they're just games. There will be always gonna be games out there, fortunately. So that's why we right now are not playing most AAA games, because they are hit, honestly. And we have seen a lot of indie companies doing incredible games over the past 10 years. So I think the market is just gonna solve by itself, and we're gonna just move from good game to good game, and we're gonna see from afar a lot of shitty games. But I don't think that the creative people making games are gonna stop existing. It's just that the majority of games are gonna be shit. So it's like we are gonna stand here on this island and be surrounded.
I think we've already seen that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think generally the gaming industry these days, I just hate the way it's gone, like overall. Because I remember when I was a kid and I could get excited. Like I wouldn't know about any games, right, until you actually walk into a brick and mortar shop and you see a poster on the wall which is this new game's coming out like next month, and you hadn't heard anything about it unless you were one of those guys that were lucky enough to get like a gaming magazine that you would read through, right? And you would like know
they were expensive. The magazines I remember were super expensive.
They were insanely expensive. Yeah, I know. Yeah. So and unless you actually walked into a shop and saw that poster, and then like you go in there and you'd be like, what are these new games coming out? And you get to see it, and you actually buy a game. If you were lucky enough to have the money to get a game when it came out, and that was it. It was a finished product. There was no patches or anything. The game wasn't buggy most of the time. Most games that came out didn't have many bugs, if any, right? And they would just be a completed product. You get to play it as much as you wanted. That was it.
Yeah.
These days, companies sell you unfinished games. They just release a game. It's unfinished. It's buggy because they know that A, people will buy it. And B, they can just patch it afterwards, right? They can just, ship patches to fix it, and eventually it might be fixed a year later. The game might be okay, after a year, but most of the players have already ditched it by then.
Yeah, they found in like 70% of the game on release, and then the 30% that is outside of that, they are just grabbing it by extra development during like a beta, an alpha, or whatever. I remember when I was a kid and I went to these shops that sells games. Obviously, in Argentina, we have all like pirated games. We cheaped the PlayStation 1, so we were spending like $4 for 3 games. Obviously, it was super cheap. But I remember going to the store and they actually have like couches and PlayStations, and you can say like, oh, can I try this game out? And you will take the game, you will put in the PlayStation, you will play like for 5-10 minutes. If you like the game, you will buy it, and then you will go home and play that game. And obviously the experience was quite different. You didn't expect the game to last you months. If you have like a good afternoon playing a game, or at least a weekend, that was enough for most people. I don't know. I think the whole experience was quite different. Obviously, I wasn't the one paying for the game. It was my father. So it was like extra good on my part. But yeah, times have changed a lot. And I think we have to be very grateful to have a game like Path of Exile that me personally, I've been playing for 8 years. And I have spent money on Path of Exile. I think I didn't spend much money on any game. I think that every single game that comes out like $60, $70, even $100 right now, here I live in Spain, so here is in euros, is super expensive. But for example, for Path of Exile, which is free, I've spent more than 400 euros so far, and I have no complaints. I would spend that money again because the amount of value that I get for that money is fucking insane. And the developers really care for the game, and I'm all aboard to support that game.
Yeah, couldn't agree more myself.
It's difficult to have one system in all these games. You have Blizzard games that you can buy the game. It's pay to play, but in the time the games become pay to play, but they sell you microtransactions, and they sell you the membership that you have to pay month after month after month in WoW. that system is crazy to me. And no other game besides WoW, I think, can came now and tell, I'm gonna sell you the game, I'm gonna sell you the membership, and I'm gonna sell you the expansion, and I'm gonna sell you the microtransactions, and the community will be fine with that. It's crazy for me, and for any other game, it works. And some other companies see that and tells themselves, I guess, how do I get that part of the cake too? It's a lot of money. And then we have Chris and GGG, and they have this idea. I want a game that it's free, but we can sell you microtransactions. Some of them are bouts and the chest extra, and another are the skins, but it's not that heavy. Last Epoch have the system of pay to play that it's older. It's an older system nowadays. And it feels weird. My chat in the live streams when I started playing Last Epoch, they told me it's free. It's a free game. No, you have to pay it for the game before. No, it should be free. It's because Path of Exile changed that thing in the RPG. They are not pioneers in these matters. You have Fortnite and League of Legends and other games that show that a game can have success being free to play and not a garbage game. Well, in League of Legends, that you can.
No.
It's crazy for me to see that people. Some people keep that image of 2000 when you buy the game and you keep it, and other people it's more familiar with the PoE system, and it feels weird when another system it's thrown to you, and when you want to try for once a World of Warcraft, and you have to pay a lot of money for different system in one game. And what I'm trying to say is it's a lot of variety in systems to monetization. It's very crazy how all companies go for different ways. And I don't think that we found or will we see one way. Probably the system of Path of Exile and Diablo 4 probably will see more of that you can wait 3 months or 4 months and they sell you another thing. And in some cases it's voluntary, in other cases will be imposed to you. You have to buy that before you can play that.
You actually play Diablo 4.
Yes.
I personally don't like Diablo 4. I've stated this many times. I bought Diablo 4. I have a terrible experience with Diablo 4. I thought that it was boring. There was no endgame.
Yes.
Compared to Path of Exile, obviously, people hate that I compare the two games, but it's impossible to not compare those games. They are basically the same game done by different people. Like, they are both successors to Diablo 2. They are two ARPGs. They are item-based. They are isometric. They are the same game. One is obviously better than the other one. And I feel like Diablo 4, it's expensive for the value that it provided back when it released. I don't know now if it's actually decent. But have you seen with the latest expansion that you actually played if it was like better than on release in some ways?
Diablo have some special value for the people that play it. Diablo 1, Diablo 2, Diablo 3, Diablo 4. It's not only the objectively the game by itself. It's a lot of elements around the game.
So it's like, wow, people need to play in the next one. It's not that the game actually deserves the player base, but they are engaged because time.
For some part of the community. I'm that part of the community. I enjoy playing the game. I know these limitations. It has a lot of problems and bugs and a lot of problems in general. but I enjoy playing the game in part for the nostalgia in the game, and I have fun playing. But I know this not in the beta state. I can say the expansion got better in the game, but it has a lot of room from improvement. I don't think it will be in the next season that we see a very
Not
good
soon.
product. Not soon, probably. but a lot of these games now need that time. Maybe we have the sensation of Blizzard is the devil and we don't like to give that time of credit that to improve the game. But a lot of games of this type, Last Epoch, Path of Exile, Diablo, but are going to improve.
Are getting improved over time. We are giving them like the opportunity to grow over time.
Yes, and if you don't want to give that opportunity, that chance to Diablo 4, it's okay. You have Path of Exile, you have Last Epoch, you have Grim Dawn, you have a lot of games. But it's very hard for a game to improve in a short time and give a very good product, a very good round product in a short time. It needs a lot of money, a lot of investment, and sometimes that investment and money don't translate in a good game. The people hate the patch number 1 or number 2 or the season number 3 or number 4, but that doesn't mean that time and money doesn't need it for that product.
Mm-hmm.
It's very complicated. I don't like to be in the shoes of the developers, in special in GGG now, because I have a lot of expectation for the game. I need the game to be good because I like the game, and in the last 2 years it was a roller coaster because it's gonna be one game, and now it's gonna be 2 games, and now it's gonna be released the last year. No, it's this year. It's gonna release complete
3 weeks, guys. 3 fucking weeks. We are so close.
And no, it's just through 3 acts, I think. And that information just came like 2 weeks ago, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading that on Twitter.
I think that a lot of people think that because it's gonna be 3 acts, it's like gonna stop in the middle of the progression.
Well, we don't know if it's 3 acts, right? That's not confirmed.
Really?
No,
it is not.
Listen, it was leaked by the leaker over there. Trevor Gaiman is the guy that is like the fool guy, right? You know, the mobile fool guy.
Yep.
That's the guy. Yeah. That's the same guy that also leaked like the original month that the game was going to be released, which was November, which was correct. So he leaked that correctly back in July or whenever that was. Right? He leaked that. He basically just casually said it in an interview. He was like, you know, yeah, it's going to be November or something like that. And that was months before they officially announced it.
Okay, he has like a backtrack, but it's not confirmed.
And this 3 acts thing came from an interview which was translated on a website. So we don't know if we're not sure if it's 100% yet. I mean, I could see it being true, but at the same time, I seem to remember about 5 or 6 months ago, Jonathan said that they were basically done with the acts.
I remember that too. I remember it. That's because I said it's a roller coaster because we have some information and then it changed and then it changed again, and it's not bad because it needs time. It's hard to give a good product, and I prefer it comes when it's done and before they bring it faster and in a bad state.
That is something that happened. I don't know if you guys know, but I was very hardcore on Guild Wars 1, and when Guild Wars 2 was actually releasing, I was like...
Guild Wars 1's like my favorite game.
Oh shit. I was doing jQuery like 24/7, just farming to get my Hall of Monuments and get my things in Guild Wars 2. And do you remember the guys who made Guild Wars 2? The catchphrase was when it's ready. Like they posted that every single day. They were cooking for years. And
did you play Guild Wars 2 or was it not really a game for you?
No. I played a shitload of Guild Wars 2. Yeah,
I played Guild Wars 2 a fair bit, but I haven't played it now since End of Dragons was the last time I played.
Oh no, the last time I played was in Fire, the expansion where we get the sniper class for the thief.
Path of Fire, yeah.
Path of Fire, yeah, that was the last one I played.
Deadeye, yeah.
Yep.
So I played it a little bit longer than you. I played it until End of Dragons, which is not the most recent expansion. The expansion before the most recent one.
Is the one with the logo of two dragons like swirling in different colors?
Yeah.
Okay.
That one was actually pretty good expansion, honestly. But for me, with Guild Wars 2, it's just like, first of all, the game was never really anything like Guild Wars 1. Let's be real here. Like,
it was completely different.
It was a successor in story only, like, and like world building. Everything else was different, right? It was a completely different game. I mean, Guild Wars 1 wasn't even really an MMO. It was
it was like instance based with
like instant based dungeon type thing, right? But I still enjoyed Guild Wars 2 for what it was, and I possibly would go back to it at some point. Maybe I just love World versus World. That's like the best thing about it.
That was insane.
And for some reason, the developers decided not to, like, that should have been their main focus from day one, dude. It should have been all about World versus World. That was like the biggest selling point of that game, is that they have this crazy, like, 50 versus 50 versus 50 massive battles going on.
Well,
and they're focusing on like telling stories, which I mean, let's be real here, like the story in Guild Wars 2, it isn't that good. I'm sorry, it's just not very good. Like other games do it better. Like World of Warcraft does story better.
I think Guild Wars 2 do like really good world building. Not the story itself, but the world building in the game is pretty good. Like the scenery in the maps.
I've always loved the lore of Guild Wars, but I think the way they went with like the Elder Dragon saga was just man, that is such a hard story to tell properly. Like it's basically they put themselves into a corner with that. They couldn't do anything other than just play out the story. Like you kill one dragon, okay, now you got to kill another dragon, now you got to kill another one until they're all gone, right?
It was like the how do you call in English when you have like those cartoons which every episode is like a different bad guy, and they are circling around like, okay, we have the fire dragon now, we have Mortremoth, now the dead are rising, and then we have the other one, I can't remember the name.
See, in the middle there, I mean, they were telling some good stories for a while. I mean, if you played Path of Fire, you must have had like a little bit of the Palo Ajoko stuff.
Yep.
You remember like Palo Ajoko?
Yeah, Palo Ajoko from Guild Wars 1. Yeah.
Yeah, but like that guy is a great villain. Like that was the story they should have told, because he was an interesting character.
Yes.
Like he wasn't this like crazy, world creating dragon or something. He was just a lich that had evil intentions, right? But he was very smart. Like that was just a good. That's the type of stories that I wanted to see in that game if they're going to do stories. If not, focus on like the game mode that you have that's really good, which is World versus World.
I think game mode. I think they went pretty hard with like a Marvel theme where everything is big and world ending. There was no need. I mean, sorry, Kevin, I don't know if you played actual Guild Wars 1 or Guild Wars 2.
No, I didn't know that game, but I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
This game is with a healthy community right now. This game is it's popular right now.
It's not dead, but it has a lot of people playing.
I don't know how many people play Guild Wars 2. They've never had. I mean, they released some stats on the number of accounts that has been created, but the thing is, like, I mean, back when I played Guild Wars 2, I had a lot of accounts because, like, occasionally they have them on sale for really cheap, right? And they had this login system where you get rewards for logging in.
And
So-
you can have like multiple sessions open in the same
gone
PC.
now. That doesn't exist anymore. But like it did exist for a while. So having the number of accounts like be a stat doesn't mean anything, right? Like that's not how many players you have. That's just if there's loads of people like me buying like a bunch of accounts and then just using them for login rewards, then that doesn't mean anything.
Sorry, I
It's
actually
hard to
remember.
say how many people play the game. I'm not sure.
Do you remember, guys?
Is there a Guild Wars 3?
No.
Or no?
Well, okay, you say no. They're probably making it right now because there was a leaked investors call about I think it was about 3 months ago where Guild Wars 3 was mentioned in name.
Damn.
So and they've basically been. A couple of years ago, there was like a weird thing that happened where the company had some layoffs, like a bunch of people lost their jobs, and some projects behind the scenes apparently got dropped, right? And they were like working on other projects. But I mean, surely, if the studio that they made Guild Wars 1, they made Guild Wars 2, they're probably going to make Guild Wars 3 next. It's like the next logical thing. Like, yes, they could branch off and do other different games, but this is just their type of game. They're probably going to make another MMO. That's just what they do. So
I asked
that's
that
what I expect.
question because it's interesting to me to see a lot of games travel that path. The game 1 captivates the community, and the 2 and the 3 have flaws, are different. And maybe different is not bad, but it's just not my jam. I don't like the way the game 2 is following, and I saw that in a lot of games. I played online. That game changed my life. I played when I have 13 years.
Drink or have you played Mu online?
No, I haven't played that.
Yeah,
but that's his game. I think everyone that is passionate about this type of games have that one game that change. You remember other games like I played that a little, but is there one game that fuck it your life?
Kevin, tell me this. You should you should remember in Mu Online very fondly every time you use a bless or a soul on your piece of armor. Like that fucking mechanic, it was so incredibly good. I mean,
it was a slots machine, but
it was a slot machine. Yeah,
it works. It works. It was a simple game, but I like it. It gave me like 3 years or more. I think, but the game changed. The people that have the wheel of the game took a different path, more pay to win, more pay to win. I didn't like that way, and for me that game dies. That game is not for me. I stopped playing, but it has been like 15 years, and the game, the original game, that the Websen game, that Websen is the company, it's still rocking that game, and a lot of Asian dudes
farming that game to no end.
And I asked to myself, is the game was bad, or just the game was not for me anymore?
I think the reason. So go on, Kevin. Sorry.
No, that question is for me constantly, because Path of Exile 1 is a very special game for me. It's a very good game. I like a lot of elements of that game. And Path of Exile 2, I hope that I like that game too, but I don't know if that will have the same way for me that Path of Exile give me.
I feel that, dude. I feel that feel so much. That is like exactly how I feel when I'm looking at like, you know, little snippets of PoE 2. I'm thinking the exact same thing. I'm thinking, is this game like? I know that this is going to be a great game. Okay, I know that it's going to be a great quality game. Like over a long time, it's going to be incredible. I have no doubt at all because I have full faith in the developers to make a great game. But is the game going to be for me? Right? Like, I don't know. I don't know if the game's going to capture me because. So Path of Exile 1 is a bit of a weird one for me. This might surprise you guys, but I've never played a different ARPG. Path of Exile 1 is the only ARPG I've ever played, and I've never played different ones since then either. I didn't play D4, haven't played Last Epoch, didn't play any of the old Diablos, right? And for a while, I was like, what is it about this game that I like? Like, I don't get it. Like, I just love this game. Like, it's just something about it is just so good for me, right? And it wasn't until I watched Chris Wilson do an interview. This was back around Expedition League, right? Do you remember when he was doing all like the community interviews because there was like the massive nerf league, right?
Yep.
Everybody got nerfed.
I remember.
So he had to do like damage control interviews. Do you remember that? Right?
I remember he went to Gassi's stream and it was like get roll ready. He made a lot of
exactly. He done like 5 interviews or something, and it was just like damage control basically. But he done. To be fair, he did took a lot of questions and answered them head on, like questions which people had serious concerns, right, about the game. Mm-hmm. But even though I do think that nerf, looking back at that nerf patch, I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but yeah, looking back at that nerf patch, it probably was a pretty good move for the game because of what came after. We'll talk about it in a moment. But what I was going to say is, you know, I was struggling with like what is it about this game? Well, it wasn't until Chris said in an interview that Guild Wars 1 is his second favorite game ever, behind Diablo 2, right? And then I started to think a little bit like, actually, there's a lot of things in this game that kind of has elements of Guild Wars 1, like its skill system, its profession design system, like how you combine skills together and how they like create these interactions with each other, right? Which is that's like the thing that I love. You can see it in PoE with like unique items coming together with ascendancies to do like special things, right, that you couldn't do before. And it was the same in Guild Wars 1. You could, you can
create anything.
Yeah, like for example, I mean, Mako, you'd know this. Like, you remember when the Rich List class got added, and then suddenly there were Necromancer Rich List healers, right? Like, because it was just too good.
It was so good.
Especially in PvE, it was too good, right?
So Kevin, just so you know how it worked, in Guild Wars 1, the maps where you kill the monsters and you go on were instanced, and before you leave the town, you have to gather a party of NPCs. So you will actually build the skills for your NPCs, and then you go out and obviously you kill monsters. But the classes in Guild Wars 1 have a feature which was the hybrid classes. Like you can be one class and other class. So you can mix and match different skills from 2 different classes. And also there was one of the things that I like the most about Guild Wars 1, which I've never seen in any other game, except maybe Path of Exile with Spectres, is that in Guild Wars 1, you can actually imprint a skill from a monster and use that skill. You can go around and capture certain skills from different monsters and make a different build.
That flexibility is nice in Path of Exile. I like it. That for some people it's weird because they ask constantly, what is the best barb build? What is the best ranger build? Or bow build or something like that? And they expect some type of game like Diablo, when you have 4 archetypes or 4 classes, and the one with the bow is the one that use bow skills, and the one that use projectiles, and only that class use that. In Path of Exile, you don't care about that, or you care about that late. You can do whatever you want, and it is nice. And it's unique to that game For some people, it's annoying that there are no difference, and when you are new to the game, it's very confusing that you don't have a line that says this is the bow character, this is the axe character. But for me, it's nice that that system. I don't know what attracts me the most of the game. It's a lot of elements. The trade system for me is crucial. I like a lot to accumulate currency and have 2,000 divines and see that in my vault and nothing more, just jerking off the currency because I like that and not need to. It's part of the game and I like it. I play it like 8 hours and I feel that I did something and that means something. In other games, not necessarily you have that feeling. In Mu, you have that feeling. You accumulate blaze and chaos and that type of currency and have value.
Yep.
And the system of the
quite
game
interesting.
was simple and stupid because you have to go to a spot and kill the same mob 1 and 2 and 3 times, but after 2 hours you feel that you feel that progression in your account, in your character. That's the same feeling that I have in Path of Exile. In other games, that feeling runs away very quick, and after 2 or 3 days, you feel that, and I don't know what I'm doing.
I think
In this game.
I think that the reason why you feel that way and many other people feel that way, I think is something that Path of Exile 1 succeed most than any other game, is the fact that you have a lot of avenues to actually get rewarded for being smart. So you can be smart with crafting, you can be, and not only crafting an item, you can be smart by crafting like jewels, you can be smart by crafting, I don't know, a boot with tailwind, elusive, and whatever. And not only that you can even craft cheap things and make a lot of money. Or you can even, I don't know, you are very smart and tweaking the market, so you know what item's gonna rise up in price, go down in price. Maybe you are very smart to farm certain currency doing some league mechanics. I mean, or even you're smart enough to put together a build very cheap and kill a boss very quickly in the league. So there's like a million different ways that the game throw at you, like the possibility to earn a lot of money if you're smart enough. And that kind of thing doesn't happen with other games. I feel like, for example, obviously I'm not gonna bash Diablo 4 forever, but just one last thing. I feel like, okay, I'm not gonna say to Diablo 4 because I don't want to be like the Diablo 4 hater. But
you can do.
I feel
the Diablo is not going to be better because you.
It feels cheap. I don't want to be that kind of person. It's just that
I know. The Diablo 4 is a simple game if you accept it as it is.
I know that.
Like
it's a problem
like
with
2
me.
days and have fun and leave it like that. But the Path of Exile, like you said, is have a lot of synergies. You can be the best man, like doing the 10 acts in the start of the league, and that's gonna give you a lot of money just because you hit maps 2 hours before everybody else. And it's one element. O sea, you can do trade, you can do craft, you can do farm, simple farm in the first 20 hours of the league. It's crucial to make a lot of currency. I am not very skillful with mechanics or making builds by my own, but I am a tryhard. I played 16 hours the first day, and I know that playing 16 hours the first day and knowing how to hit maps really fast, it's give me my recompensa,
My reward. Yeah.
My reward, exact. And that feels nice. I feel great when I hit maps and all my friends are in Act 3 or 4 or 5, and I know I'm ahead of all these people, and that feels nice. And that's one element. There are a lot of elements in crafting, in bossing, in making builds, and something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, for me, because I play mostly SSF. I barely play trade these days. But the last time I did play trade, I remember like just finding something to make money. It doesn't really matter what it is, right? Because at the end of the day, like everybody, if you're playing Trade League, you basically usually have like a goal of I want to make this build, or I want to like spend all my currency and do something else, right? Later on in the league. So I remember I just had like an idea in my head that I want to make this build, but I don't have any currency to make it. So I need to like get that currency somehow. So I just remember, I think this must have been like, I can't remember the last time I played trade. Maybe it was like 5 or 6 leagues ago or something. But
so
I just found
you're mainly a softcore player?
No, this is hardcore.
Solo self-found.
Yeah.
Oh,
hardcore, yeah.
Hardcore.
Yeah, so I mostly play hardcore self-found, but
that's why you know about defenses a lot, right? Like you need those.
This is the thing. Well, yeah, this is the thing. I mean, that's so. The reason why I play hardcore in the first place, because I actually get, like, people ask me this all the time. It's like, why do you play hardcore? I remember I made some videos like early on in my channel about like, you know, some hardcore build or whatever that I was playing. And I get like comments like, you know, just a hardcore cuck like everybody else, right? Or some like ridiculous shit like that. And like the thing is, I don't have that mindset at all. Like I don't consider myself to be an elitist or anything like that. Like I don't play hardcore because I want to feel superior to other people or some bullshit like this. I play hardcore because whenever I played softcore, I never felt like I was rewarded for building defenses. And it's as simple as that, right? I think these days it's actually a lot better. But back then it wasn't, right? Back then it was a case of you can invest into defenses, but it wasn't worth it. It was better to just build more damage. So these days you can actually invest into defenses on softcore and they actually feel meaningful and worth it, right? And it's been that way since like 3.16 when they changed up defenses. But yeah, for me, hardcore is one of those things that I just feel I get so much more enjoyment out of the game when I'm playing in hardcore because I feel like I can build defenses and be rewarded. I don't care if I'm playing a build that doesn't do much damage, but I hate playing a build where I'm just constantly getting chunked by like things, right? Like constantly taking a bunch of damage. Like just a couple of days ago, I was playing in Aero's hardcore league. He's doing like a private hardcore league right now. It's like a group found league. I'm still alive at the moment. I haven't died yet, but I'm playing an Elementalist, right? And I was like, because it's a group found league, I thought I'd just play some random build, right? So I'm playing Doryani's Fist, Ignite, Elementalist.
In hardcore.
I'm just like, every now and again, I just take like a hit of like 80% of my life, like, and almost die. So I'm like a level 90 at the moment. But I mean, it's been fun, right? It's just a bit of fun, whatever. But yeah, most of the time I'm playing a build that's pretty tanky. Like my go-to is like Chieftain on a league start. I just love playing Chieftain, like RF or something like that. But yeah, going back to what I was talking about before, like the last time I played trade, it was just a case of, especially, this is probably not so much a thing in softcore because way more people play. So in softcore, it's a lot harder to make money on like a niche thing because if something is like, let's say in softcore, gold and oil is worth a lot of money, right? Within a day, the price has dropped because a bunch of people have just gone and farmed blight, right? Whereas in hardcore, there's a blight guy. There's a guy that everybody knows, and he's the blight guy in the league. And he plays blight like 12 hours a day and farms the oils for the entire server, right? Because there's just not many people that play on hardcore trade. So it's like, I just found a cluster jewel that was, it was worth like, I think this might have even been before Divine and Exalt got switched around. So I think it was like 5-6 Exalts, and I was making it for like half an Exalt just by crafting it, and that's it. I just sold like 10-15 of those, and that was it. I had enough to make my build. So what
are the main defenses that people are going for now in hardcore? I remember Like when I started playing this game, I think it was the league before Abyss. I can't remember. But I remember back in the day, you went full block, full resistances, and put a counts hard over you. You play Righteous Fire, and that was the hardcore build. Like,
yeah, well, that's the thing. Like back then, so before they reworked defenses in 3.16, the defensive meta was block and dodge, right? That's why, like, I don't know if you guys remember, like, Archmage Raider, right? Like, you would basically stack a bunch of spell and attack dodge, and then you would go Raider and play Archmage.
Yeah, with the old acrobatics, right?
You had a ton of life then, basically, because you had your life pool, you had your mana, and you would play, like, you know, Archmage Cremation or whatever skill was, like, meta at the time. Maybe, like, Bladeful, Blade Blast.
Do you remember how many dodge the old acrobatic keystone did? Like,
yeah,
it was pretty insane.
Yeah, well,
30%.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, you could get up to 75 was the cap, but then you could also increase the cap even further than that with like modifiers. But I mean, these days you can only get to 75 because there's only the keystone, and they removed all of the maximum dodge modifiers. But yeah, I mean, these days it's defenses are way stronger these days. Like, you can build monster characters that just barely take any damage these days. It's crazy. You know, back then it was just block and dodge, and you occasionally did get chunked because attacks would get through that block. But nowadays that you have really reliable defenses. For example, just in this patch they added the max res to duels. Right? Like I covered Garatha's build this league in one of my videos. I cover like people's builds sometimes. If I find a build that I really like, I just make an entire video just discussing the build. And I covered Garatha's Eviscerate Bleed Gladiator this league because that was a ridiculous build. Like he had like 90 all elemental resistances just from duels and from the passive tree. And yeah, he was able to just stand there and get hit to then proc his Eviscerate so he could deal damage. Like that was a crazy build. Basically AFK in Simulacrum, like didn't take any damage.
They put the maximum resistances on jewels because they took it from somewhere else, if I remember correctly. I don't know if it was for the tree or the gear.
But the system changed every now and then, and the new patch give you some nerfs in some occasions, but the community turns it and change the game for complete. I like the layers that game have and the experience that you can have in a softcore trade. But if you want to play in solo self-found or you want to play in hardcore solo self-found, the game changed completely.
Yeah, it's another game.
Yes, and it's fun and keeps you playing the game a lot. I remember when I played the first Gauntlet, I guess. Never played hardcore very intense until then, and I learned a lot of resistance and armor evasion, and a lot of other defensive mechanics. And you learn some simple things and realize that, oh, that's why I keep dying when I'm speedrunning the first 10 acts and the first day of the league.
Yeah.
In fucking mud flats, you get one-shotted by those ROAS.
And that changed something in you, and you learn things that you carry to the next league or the next event or the next character that you make, and the game is different. And the experience is richer, or I don't know how to say it, but it's better, and you keep coming to the next league for more of that because you build knowledge, and that give you more power and the next character on the next season, on the next league or patch. No?
Yeah,
I've been slacking off. I really wanted to try SSF. Because I think it's the best way to learn the game that way. I don't know if you guys think the same thing.
Yeah, I would. If anyone was like playing the game maybe so for the first time I would always recommend softcore trade. If I had someone come to me and they wanted to play Path of Exile for the first time, they're completely new, it would always be softcore trade, because I think that in softcore trade you can basically tell the person to just go in and play how they want to, right? This is how because I had a friend recommend the game to me, and I thought, why not? There's a new season starting, I'll just try it, right? And they didn't tell me anything. They said just play the game. So I played it for like a week and a half, 2 weeks. I had a crappy build, right? I didn't look at any build guides. My build was terrible, and like, you know, but I had fun. It was a fun experience. And then after sort of a week or two had gone past, then I started to dig, right? I started to look on Wikipedia. That was like a rabbit hole. You like, oh, how does armor work? And then you go on, read about how armor works, and then suddenly there's something else on that page. Then you click on that. There's like 50 browser tabs open on your internet. You're like looking through all these browser tabs, looking at how everything works, you know. So like I would always recommend people to play softcore trade first, because that's the game mode where you can at least if you're someone who you got some people who you know, right, that play the game, you can like have an experience where you have the game completely fresh and you go in blind, and then you can like be helped out a little bit after that, right? There's always ways you can like solve things. Like I remember back when I first played Path of Exile, the very first league that I played in softcore trade, I was farming fated uniques, right? Like, you know, do you remember the uniques that you could complete quests and upgrade them?
I made a fortune doing.
I made so much currency doing that. I was able to like fund my next character, and by the end of that, my very first league, I was farming Uber at Zeri on my character. I mean, obviously, I'm like a pretty when I play something, I'm all in, right? That's just how I'm never halfway, right? If I'm playing something, I'm all in on it. So for Path of Exile, that was the same. And within 3 leagues, I started in Delirium, right, 3.10. And by Ritual, 3.13, I was already playing SSF. And then by the next league, 3.14, I was playing Hardcore SSF, and that was it. I've never looked back. So it's just like a progression thing for me. If I started playing the game now, today, I don't know if I would play Hardcore. Because the game is different these days. I might play SSF Softcore if I started playing from scratch these days. Because, so as I was explaining before, when I first started, you didn't feel rewarded for investing into defense. Whereas I think you do these days. You do feel a lot better about investing into defense. There's so many cool options that you can go for. And that's kind of how I feel about Path of Exile 2, just looking at it. As like someone looking in on it, I haven't actually played it yet. But I do feel like I might not play Hardcore in Path of Exile 2, because I think there's a lot of restrictions that they've put on the game, which kind of already makes it like a medium core experience. It's like halfway between softcore and hardcore in Path of Exile 1. Like, for example, if you die, the zone gets reset, the boss is full life again, right? There's all these like little things that they're adding into the game.
You cannot even port out of the fight.
Yeah, exactly. So there's like things that stop you from, or like if you log out, right? If you log out, you have to choose between going back into the boss fight exactly where you were when you logged out, or you go back to town. And if you do that, the boss is fully healed. You have to start again from scratch. So I think they've put a lot of things in that punish you for dying already. So
Jonathan has been really clear about that. He said that they want people to actually play softcore like the first time, because they expect every single one of us to die at least 1 or twice every single boss. Yeah. And it was very clear that the hardcore players are gonna need like a little bit more experience this time around to actually don't die in hardcore. And it's gonna be fun. I think that a lot of players are gonna start in hardcore. I think Caesar and that kind of stuff, I'm not sure if they're gonna play softcore.
I am definitely not starting in hardcore, 100%. There's no shot.
I have him say that he will start in softcore because of the same reasons of Dreamcore.
Oh, okay.
I have a question. All these changes, we don't know if we are gonna like it or not, but it's good that the game is now Path of Exile 2, a different game, and Path of Exile 1, it's another game. In the when Jonathan said the game is gonna be 2 games separate, the people felt bad because they want one game to continue with better graphics, with better skins in generally. But now I can feel that that's the good way to go. To separate games.
You can
You
have
like
the
that
best
the
of
game.
both worlds
Mhm.
now.
See, you like that decision that is 2 games instead of 1.
First of all, I completely agree with what you said, because when Jonathan first said that, I remember ExileCon 2023. I left that event feeling completely deflated. Like,
Really?
I just didn't. Yeah, 100%.
Me too.
I did not know. You can actually go back and watch my video on my channel. It was like 12 minutes long of me I was just rambling like for 12 minutes, like straight off the top of my head. Like I had people like putting comments on older videos like, why are you not making a video about this? Like, why are you not responding and stuff like that, right? So
Why?
I just made a video. It's like 12 minutes, 14 minutes or whatever. It might have even been 20 minutes of me just talking about this. And you can hear in the tone of my voice and what I'm saying that I'm just generally not that happy with what's been said at that event.
What do you think that you lost?
Yeah, well, it's not so. Oh man, I don't know how to explain it. It was like there was so many things that Path of Exile 2 was supposed to fix in Path of Exile 1, right? Melee was like one of the big ones, right? And okay. Melee is in a much better place after this league, but it took a long time for us to get there. Let's be real here. You know, they announced Path of Exile 2 back like the league before I started playing. It was like 3.9, I think, was like around that ExileCon was when they did it. So it's taken a long time for us to get to where we are now, and they only just fixed Melee, like in this league, 3 months ago. And when I say fixed, they just made it deal more damage. That's all it does. There's no actual fix in terms of because let's be real. When they say they wanted to fix Melee, they weren't talking about the damage. They were talking about like what the playstyle feels like in terms of combat. Right? How
Melee is not really Melee, honestly. There's no Melee in Path of Exile.
Of course, yeah. I mean, to be fair, like I don't like strike builds. Strike builds are the only Melee in the game, and even those you can make them so they're not Melee. Right? Like there's that new anoint. I can't remember what it's called. Sione something, right? There's some new anoint that you got. It gives you like ridiculous strike range. And you're not even melee anymore. You're just like standing half a screen away from the enemy that you're hitting. Your weapon's nowhere near them, but it is still hitting them, right? I mean, personally, I like melee builds, but I prefer slam builds, which are basically not melee, right? Let's be real. Like they're just not. They just hit the entire screen. So, but yeah, I've got to say, when that announcement happened, I just felt deflated. That's just, I'm not going to lie that I didn't feel very positive about the future of the game, because from my perspective, the patches for Path of Exile 1 were coming slower and slower. They were sort of hit and miss at that time, right? We had Crucible. I mean, sorry, like I don't even know what that was, right? I'm not a big fan of Crucible. But there was some great ones there as well. Sanctum was amazing, right? Sanctum was one of my favorite leagues of all time, for sure. So it was very hit and miss, like I was saying. So
yeah, and back then we were coming from Calandra, from Expedition. It was like a rough time. I think it was one of the worst time in terms of in terms of at least the feeling of the community and the quality of the expansions. At least the quality of life. I remember, well, Calandra, we have all the arch nemesis thing. It was a mess. So I think when Crucible came up, people were like, okay. I think what you felt was basically Path of Exile 2 was gonna be the fix for your already. For the game that you already were loving.
No? It's gonna be the reason, because the game is going slower and slower and slower. The gameplay is changing. The enemies take a lot of time to kill, but it's because Path of Exile 2 it's gonna be that way, and we need
exactly.
to change and blah blah blah. And then Jonathan came and said,
Like
no,
okay,
it's not.
like here's the biggest example, right? Frozen Legion. What is that skill?
I don't understand that skill.
No, seriously. Like, what
Seems
is that
boring
skill?
as hell
Right,
for me.
When they added Frozen Legion to the game, me and my friends were in Discord, right? They show it on the live stream, like when it first got announced, and we're like, I mean, that's a Path of Exile 2 skill, right?
Yep.
Like that's what we said. That's a Path of Exile 2 skill. It makes sense. It makes sense in the context of PoE 2.
It was a
doesn't make
delayed
sense for
sweep.
PoE 1. Right, so that, and there's other skills that are in the game. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but it's just like
Well,
skills.
how is that skill that you charge the ground with mana and then it blows up? Do you remember the name of that skill?
No.
You create like squares on the floor.
Oh, Rune Surge or something like that, right?
Something like that, and then you have like the sphere.
Yeah. And there's like the transfigured version, which allows you to teleport. Like
And they came up with the sphere that you create like the bubble around yourself that it protects you from projectiles, or the one that it charges up when you start using like lighting skills, which is basically the Path of Exile 2 skill that creates a storm and you are like floating. It's the same
I actually
stuff.
think most of these skills are probably PoE 2 skills that they like backported. Because now that we're seeing like footage of PoE 2, we see a lot of monsters that have been used in league content from like the last 3, 4, 5 leagues. We saw them for the first time in PoE 1, right? But like for example, the candle boss in Sanctum, right? That's in PoE 2. Most recently, we had the like in Affliction, like the forest. There was like that weird. It was actually bugged for a while. You know, you could raise that specter and it had like a ridiculous amount of life, right?
No,
that one that like blinks around and puts like degen on you. That one, if you watch the mercenary footage, it's there, like jumping around, and the mercenary has to kill it. Like in that footage.
That's the one that does the chaos damage on the floor, like the purple one.
It's like, I don't know what it's called. It looks like a wraith, and it like blinks. It like instantly blinks around. Like you can barely and keep track of it. Yeah. And when Affliction was first launched, there was a bug. Like you could use Raised Spectre on that thing, and then you could desecrate it, and it was like 4 or 5 times the amount of life of the max life corpse in the game, right? And it just insta-killed everything. They had to actually hotfix it. They hotfixed it within like 40 minutes. As soon as they noticed it, they just got rid of it. Yeah. So that was like completely game breaking. There were people just like deleting Uber bosses instantly with it, like before phases. So
I like that game. In this game that they play the cat and the mouse in the developers and the community. That developers give you some product and they say, "Then you can play that," and the community.
I think that Mark is actually the cat and the mouse.
Thing totally different and broke the thing and have that one punch the overboss and kill it instantly, and the developers have to run to fix that thing. It's a fun element in the game. I like to play that way. I like to find and discover things. Some things are broken. I understand when they have to fix it, but that type of game, I like it, and I like that it take place in a league that take 3 months or 4 months, and you can find one thing, have fun with it, and the next league, goodbye, and find another thing and another thing and another thing. That's part of the essence of the game, I think. And I know the developers have a rough time trying to balance that element because they want the game is not will become not broken, but you can have fun with that type of chase of that elements in the game.
I think that to certain point is actually planned. I mean, not in a way that next league we are gonna make like people are gonna detonate totems and they're gonna one shot the boss. Yeah, that is not planned. But For example, there's a thing in game development which is basically changing things that are broken over time. Dota and League of Legends does this every single patch. Like something is super broken and the next time is utterly garbage. I think that creates like a dynamic building of characters. Like, okay, I can exploit this thing, tomorrow is dead, then this other thing comes up. And I think that gives a lot of life to the game. And honestly, as a content creator,
fresh, no?
right. And as a content creator, it's actually really nice because you can like, okay, I discovered this thing and now it doesn't work. And tomorrow is that thing. And it keeps you like engaged in following the game. For example, in a game like Path of Exile, if you're a crafter, if you like crafting, and I think you, Kevin, are one of those, if you leave the game for 6 months or a year, you come back, and you don't know what the fuck is going on. You are trying to do alteration, and where is that fucking mod? And you cannot see that mod, and it was patched. Okay, it needs now certain influence, and it can appear on an item which is below item level 84, for example, whatever. And I think that's what creates like a living world, I think, which makes you like, okay, I need to keep up with the game. I need to keep up with the patches. Because, and at the end of the day, it's not that you feel bad for not keeping up. For example, there are some games that if you don't keep up with the patches, you come back to the game and you suck. Or things actually don't work. But in Path of Exile, it's not only that you can find interesting ways, but it gives you some reward for actually being up to date to things. So it's like a net positive. It won't get you like a under zero. You won't go negative in terms of knowledge. But if you keep up with the information, you're actually gonna gain more money or do a stronger build or create better content for your YouTube channel or whatever. I think that's super good for game development and having your audience engaged.
The community is very extensive and vast and very different. I in the past years I see a lot of people commenting in the videos and the guides and the stream. Some things I love of the game people hate that in the game as well, and some changes that I think are good or excellent for the game. Some people think that it's killing the game for the next.
Everything is killing the game.
Yeah. And I like how the community develops with all these changes, and not everybody have to like it. But what I admire from GGG is that they have the point that they want to reach, and when they come to that point, you can see, oh, it was a good change. A pesar de que.
Yeah, despite of the fact
that in today you don't like the change, but in 1 year you see that the change was good. Maybe you still don't like the change, but you see that it was the right choice to do that change. I have find that point a lot of times in every patch now and then, and now I respect the change even if I don't like it, because I learned that the developers are smarter than me to see where they want to guide the game and where they want to reach with the state of the game.
It's like the meme of you think that you want, but you don't, but doing in the right way.
In some points, not all the games can reach that state. A lot of games change things, and the community says how the developer don't see that it's a bad change, and they focus in some trash and the core of the game is not taken care of. What Dreamcore said, no, the Guild Wars 1 have that element that is good, but in Guild Wars 2 they focus on other things, and he can see that, but the developers didn't see that. I don't know if they didn't see that or can't see that, or they just have another interest for the game, and they want to reach that point.
I think
I do agree with that completely. Like, especially in regards to Guild Wars 2, like, I don't think that's just my own selfish opinion, right? Because like I want them to focus on world versus world because that's always been my favorite mode. It's the mode that I have the most fun in. But probably
I'm gonna push you the
standpoint, right? That they're making an MMO that is, you know, you got to say it how it is. Guild Wars 2 is a very, very casual focused MMO. It's designed for people that don't have a lot of time to play. So they probably do have a lot of players that really do enjoy the story-driven content. That's what makes them money. That's what they need those players to be able to buy the game, to buy MTX and things like that. So they have different they have different kind of agenda to me, right? They're a business at the end of the day. Yep. Like they want to, but I don't know. I also don't really know how they could monetize world versus world in the same way. Like they probably could. Like I'm sure they could think of things, but it's also whether it would garner the same player base. I go back to, I don't know if you guys played New World when it came out.
Yes, yeah, I did.
So I didn't play it, but I wanted to play it initially, right? You guys may remember that when New World was first announced, way back, this was like way before it got released, it was going to be a hardcore, like PvP MMO.
Yeah.
Where you basically, you could create a guild with your friends. You could claim land. Anyone who came on that land that weren't part of your group, you could tax them to be on it. And if they didn't like it, you could fight them, right? You could kill them basically because they were trespassing on your land. And if they died, they would lose their character and all of their loot would be gone. You could just take it, right? And that's like the whole idea that they had for that game. And then at some point along the line, they completely scrapped the whole thing, scrapped it, and they just made. I'm sorry to put it bluntly, but they made a boring MMO that's the same as every other MMO.
I think
story-based MMO. It's not very fun. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was an Amazon decision. They say, okay, newbies are gonna die and they're gonna leave the game, so we can make $1 billion or $25 billion.
I agree. So, it was a business decision, right? But
yeah, of course.
Let me say this, right? Path of Exile 1, the reason why it's so successful is because over the years, the developers have been completely focused on their end goal for what they want the game to be. Every single patch, they've just stuck to it, right? There's been some leagues where the Reddit has been absolutely on fire, right? And they've just ignored it. Like, they think that they have the game's best intentions in mind and they go with it, right? There are people that will come and speak out about the game, and look, they don't always get it right. Like, I mean, everyone can see that who is a big fan of the game. They don't always get it right. Sometimes they get it wrong. But most of the time, when they have like a good idea and people can't see it, just like Kevin said, over time, you start to realize that actually this thing was good for the game in the end, right? It was a good change. So I could go back to that New World thing and I could say to you guys, right, look at where New World is now, right? Had the game been a hardcore focused PvP MMO, it would have sold like maybe 5% of the copies that it did at launch because the amount of people that actually appeals to is way smaller. But let me tell you, that type of game garners a community which is strong. It stays there and they keep playing the game and it builds over time and develops into something. It flourishes into something, right? Just like Path of Exile 1 did. Like, this is not a game for everybody. We can already see that. Like, over the years, it's been growing, but it's not a game for everybody. It's like, I have loads of people coming into videos, the videos that I make, commenting that you need like 15 degrees to play this game, right? You need like a maths degree, you need all this stuff,
It's
right?
true. It's true.
Just to understand what's going on in it, right? Realistically, you don't need any of that. You can just play. You can pick up the game and follow a build guide and have fun. Like anybody can.
Yeah,
do it,
to a certain extent, you can. I remember a friend who played a lot of games trying Path of Exile 1 for the first time. I remember he write like, obviously in Spanish, but I'm gonna translate like, I'm on. I remember he started softcore, and he was telling me like he deals no damage, and I remember that he was having like a 200 sword, and he was playing with holy flame totems, and he went inside of the labyrinth, and he died on the labyrinth, and he write me, hey, my character is dead. Like, and I told him like, you cannot die. You're in softcore. No. The screen is telling me like you're dead. Like, no, that's because you're on the labyrinth. You can go back to town or whatever. And I mean, he had like all yellow gear, yeah, rare gear, but he was having like 4 mana on hit. He was having like a 200 sword, playing with Holy Flame Totem. He was dealing like negative damage. I think he was healing the boss. And I was like, no, if you want to play like totems, you have to build totem damage or fire damage or whatever. I don't know how friendly it is. I think certain builds are obviously way better for new players. For example, if you're playing spells, you can actually tell a friend, okay, try to play with a witch, go some spell like fireball or freezing pools, and try to find spell damage or fire damage or whatever, and you will be pretty good. But if you try to play with some very obscure skills that maybe you don't know, for example, you go with, I don't know, Blade Trap. Imagine someone trying Blade Trap on their first run. It's gonna be a nightmare. So I think that Path of Exile 1, you can actually play without following any guide and get to maps pretty comfortably if you have some experience with other ARPGs. But you have to be lucky enough to pick the right gem, I think, because if you don't, maybe you will fall under some weird interactions.
I think you also need to be someone that like
likes to read.
You like you also just want to play. Like,
yeah.
It's kind of weird to say it like that, but like there's plenty of people, they've even said it themselves. I think Chris said this, that like the majority of players quit on Hillock.
Yep.
They get to Hillock, they die, they uninstall, never play the game again. Right. And then like the second group of players that quit, they quit in Acts 3 because the quest system is just terrible and you don't know where to go.
Yeah.
So like, there's both of those scenarios, and like the other problems as well that you mentioned there, you kind of overcome them if you want to. If you want to play the game, if you feel like this is going to be a game for you, you will go out of your way to look for that information. Like, I'm not going to lie, Path of Exile does a terrible job of explaining things. That's half of the reason why I have any success on my channel, right? Is because I just explain mechanics that the game doesn't explain. And Path of Exile 2 is probably going to do a much better job at that. We've already seen like there's tooltips for everything. Like you kind of know what things do. But you know, I think if you want to play the game, you'll find a way.
Yeah,
that's basically what I'm saying, right?
I think it's designing as a filter. I think that
it requires some type special of player that do his homework and find answer out of the game. I remember when I played Diablo 2, I played the Act 1, the Act 2, and level up and reach new difficulties. And when I reached the last difficulty, I start to die and die again, die again, and die again and again. And I tell to myself, this fucking game is not gonna beat me. And I start to researching out of the game, going to the wiki and reading and learning mechanics, and put together some items that I learned in the wiki, and the game become easier. And that that sensation feels great. That I achieved something. I beat the game one more time. When the game puts give me serious shit, I respond with effort. When I start playing Path of Exile, I start playing with that mentality, remembering the Diablo 2 mentality that in some point I'm gonna start to die and die and die and die and die, and I need to research and learn some mechanics, and I will be better in the game, and that happened. Uh, like me, probably not all the people do that. It's a very small portion of the player base that do that, and portion of the game struggles in the axe or quit the game or something like that. Now it's easier because you have YouTube, you have Reddit, and other things that you can reach for help.
Well, they have you guys with your content, basically. Yeah.
But de todas maneras, the people need to do these things. If you don't want to do these things, like Dreamcore says, you want to beat the game. If you don't want to do it, you're never gonna do it, and it's fine. It's not necessarily the game is for everyone, and not everybody is gonna do that thing and reach this point in the game. It's a filter, like you said.
I want to go back to this idea of the hard game, the PK, like the player killing that you talk about in New World that didn't came out at the end. For example, in Moonlight, just so you know, I'm gonna explain how it was. Moonlight was a really, really simple game. It was extremely simple. It was an ARPG, so you will see like an isometric view, like Diablo 2, for example. And the only thing that you will do in that game was basically killing monsters. The monsters drop loot, and the only crafting that you can do on that game is actually use like jewels on top of the item to raise a level. For example, you kill a monster, he will drop a black dragon armor. So you will put like a bless, and now Black Dragon +1.
+2.
Then another bless up to +6, right? And the armor, once it reach like +3, it will change color, like a bluish color. And up to +6, it will have like a small, like a hue, like some aura around it. And then you have to use like soul gem, and that will raise it up to 7, 8, and 9. And that was like the whole progression of gear. You will find better gear, which means like, okay, you have Black Dragon gear, you have Dragon gear, you have Phoenix gear, and different kind of gear. And then you wanted to throw the Blaze and Salt until you reach +9. Then there's another mechanic which was crafting in Moria, which you put the chaos plus the shovel and you raise it to +10, +11, that was the whole progression. Making a specific item, the mods were all the same, doesn't matter what kind of item you get. The only thing that it changed was an excellent item could have different stats. But what I'm trying to get here is the game was a small town, you leave the town, and as soon as you leave the town, you were like, you won't have any protection, right? So you will find people, it was like this. If you press the control key and you move the mouse over any player, you can actually hit it like it was a monster, okay? So what you will see outside every single town was the PK players, which was people who are level, I don't remember, like 200, 300, and they have like 3 million resets, and the stats of those guys were all over the place. So you will go like with your level 5 character, and you will see like a guy fully geared with an aura around him, and once you become a player killer, you will your character will become black and red. So once you get out, you were going to get instantly one shot by the PK player. Okay? And if you are good enough and you kill the PK player, you will become heroic and you will be bluish, because that's the guys that kill the PK players. But what we did with a friend was pretty nice. I was the PK player, okay? And my friend was charging people so he can protect them from me. What they didn't know was that we were sharing the money that we were asking. So I was killing them, he was killing me, and we were splitting 50-50 the currency so they can leave the town. And that was pretty fun. And
unethical.
Yeah, completely unethical. Completely unethical. And the fun part is that if you saw a guy all in red and black, and they were fully armored, you might be scared, but you will be more scared when you see someone without armor, because those ones were the guys that didn't need armor. They were so fucking strong that they didn't need armor, and they were using. This is super fun. I have so good times playing Mu Online. You have a stat in that game which was called reflect damage, and it was 5% damage reflectiveness. So you will have one piece of gear with 5% reflect damage, but the reflect damage scale with your damage. So the little level 5 will come next to you. He will hit you for like 3 damage, and they will get like 4 million damage and get one-shotted. So you are just outside like this, and all the new level players were like walking, hitting you, insta-die. And you can leave your character outside of Florencia, which was the first city, and you will find all the skeletons near you when you came back. It was super fucking fun, the PK, for me. But if you were the new player, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, that's a game design thing, though, right? Like, if the game design is so that, like you said, if you're a new player and you have this like bad experience, then but like I don't know, I think New World could have been something special. Like that kind of, like I was saying, that kind of game does not appeal to everybody. Like that's the problem these days, right? The mainstream games, they want to appeal to everybody. They want to do things to please everybody. That's just not how it works. Everybody is different. Everybody likes different things. Kevin said it earlier, right? People play PoE for different reasons, and people look at like a balance change that the developers do, and some people say this is amazing, and other people say this is trash. Like, what is this? Mm-hmm. Right? So it's just when doing like game design, you can't appeal to everybody. You can't please everybody. So, you know, I understand that they're a massive company and they were going after a giant audience, and that change that they made, going from being this like really specific, you know, hardcore PvP type MMO to like a more generic story-based MMO, which is basically what it ended up being. That was definitely driven monetarily. That was the thing where they're like, we're not going to sell many games. Like we need to appeal to a larger audience. But man, I'm just sad because like New World could have been something so special. I mean, I was so excited for that game when they first announced it as it was, because I thought, man, like this is amazing. You're going to be able to have like a guild with your friends. Like you can control a plot of land. Like this is your land. Your guild owns this land. Like this is your land. Like it's your own space in the game. If anybody comes in here, like they're on your land, you can charge them tax. You know, maybe they join your guild. Perhaps they're like, you know what I mean? There's like there's cool incentive there. Like this is unexplored territory right now in gaming, and I think the reason why it's unexplored is because, like I said, it's super niche, right? No one's saying this is going to be really popular, but I think that type of game is something, like I said, that it lasts a long time once it's there if it's done correctly. the people who play it that begin playing it, they stay there and carry on playing it and keep playing it and keep playing it, and eventually more and more people join as this game's patched over the years, and it like garners a population of players that's just, it becomes something like it's like a natural growth, rather than just having all of these players buy the game at once.
I think Ashes of Creation.
Right?
I think Ashes of Creations are trying to do this thing.
Ashes of Creation have got a lot of good ideas, but I mean, at this point, is the game even real?
Yeah, I think that it's just a passion project from the
Like, seriously,
the guy.
like until that game actually launches and people are playing it, I don't think it's real, dude. Like, what is happening with that game?
Yeah, for me, it's like a cryptocurrency scam until it releases.
Yes.
It's just insane. Like, I don't know. Like, it's cool. There's some great concepts there. Really, really. I mean, when that guy talks, sounds
Mist of Creation. Just smoke.
Yeah, I don't know.
But for a lot of games, growing is a difficult thing and very challenging thing. Some games start with an idea and passion and develop and grow bigger and bigger and bigger and reach a ceiling. But when you want to go global and everybody jumps into your game, you have to do some sacrifices that involves quality and substance. And that is sad in some cases because you can see that Diablo 4, for example, it tries to appeal a lot of people, and that formula, you can achieve that. You can get a launch popular with 1 million players, and the party starts and ends in 2 days. And you sold the game and you invest $1 and give back $100, and you have done your job good, but the game don't have the substance that initially did in some point. That growing, it's tricky, and I think it has a ceiling if you want to have boundaries and substance always in your product. Path of Exile 2 will challenge that problem too in some point, especially in the launch and the next year, probably after launch. I don't know how they're gonna deal with it. I have confidence that they have clear what they want to reach and they want to give us to the community. But it's complicated. I don't know if Guild Wars 1 was a simple game.
No.
Or for you,
no, it wasn't.
Complicated game. Yeah. Because Moonlight was a very simple game, and you can have two spectrums of that thing. You can have very simple and addictive, or very complex and addictive. And in other cases, you have all the elements. You have the grinding, the skins, the community, the PvP, and a lot of things, and doesn't work. And you don't know why it doesn't work, but doesn't work. Maybe it's the substance and the clear point of view of the developers that they want one thing and they gonna do it in that way, even if the community thinks other ways or the investors thinks in other ways.
Well, it comes down to what do you prefer? Do you want to be a 7 of everything, or do you want to be a 10 of something? Like,
or you want to invest $1 and give back $100. It's a real thing. It's what a lot of industries are doing right now. They don't have a personality, they don't have a substance, but they have an income, and they choose that way.
Yeah, I think in this century, games have become a way to make money for people with money. So that happened the same way in movies. So we are not seeing a lot. Well, when we see like AAA games, it's not more of those developers trying to do a good game. It's a lot, like 90% of the time, it's just people trying to make money. That's the reason why the games feel less passionate. has a lot less love. And I think it has nothing to do with the actual developers that are working there. It's just that the management and the objectives in the company is different. They're searching for the golden goose, and they're gonna boil that thing until oblivion. Like,
That's because growing needs money.
yeah.
And not necessarily the developers that have passion have the money, but they want to.
Yes.
Yeah, and they maybe lost the way in some point. But it has happened, like you said, in movies, in entertainment, and the fact that the games are now very mainstream, not like a bunch of nerds just playing one game and the developers working for that bunch of nerds. Now everybody can want to play the Diablo 4 or the New World or the big titles, because everybody wants to join the party when it's at the highest point. And when it lows, everybody leaves and search for the next game, the next title, the next party, and the system knows that and use that. And the people that want to be in the most of the parties is the people that have the most of the money. And if the rest of the people don't have the money or is difficult to stay in party after party after party after party.
Well, that's why Path of Exile 1.
That's a problem of the poor people, because the company needs the money and see that with a very amount of people with a lot of money, they can make a lot of profit, and the system changes in that direction. No?
I think that's why Path of Exile 2 is so successful. Is because of what's the name of this guy that talked to Chris Wilson and actually made the seasons or leagues in Path of Exile. Criparian. Yeah, right. That's why every 3 or 4 months you have a league, because that's a good way of actually having like the initial wave of players and then going back up and down and back and out, and you keep the game alive.
Yeah. I think these days there's a lot of L's in the gaming industry. It's sad to say, but that's just the truth. Like a lot of games are just, there's like, you can see there's a huge amount of budget put into the trailer and stuff. Like, let's make this game look as good as possible, and then when it comes out,
it's funny because
it's bad.
Because one of the questions that I have here that I didn't ask the other day to Try and Croxy, which Croxy is here in the chat, maybe he can answer now. What is the thing that whenever you are seeing a trailer, right, of an upcoming game, what is something that you see in the trailer that you immediately goes like, okay, this is gonna be a shit game? Can you remember when it's not
gameplay?
When it's all a trailer.
If I'm seeing a trailer that is generated, there is a few exceptions. Like, for example, World of Warcraft trailers, right? I mean, I've never played World of Warcraft, just for the record. It was never something that I played, but the trailers just amazing. Like, they're just so good.
Cinematics are the best thing from Blizzard.
Like, they're just so good. Like, I've pretty much watched all of them. Like, that's kind of how because I played Warcraft 3 and Warcraft 2 before that, but I didn't play World of Warcraft. And obviously the trailers are great, and they're not gameplay trailers, right? They're like amazing CGI, that tons and tons of budget, like ridiculous budget. And that's a little bit different. But I think the only reason that's different is that they are selling a product that you kind of already know what it is. If the people that they're marketing to are people that already played the game. Occasionally, I mean, these days they're pulling in new players as well, because they kind of made a lot of systems to make the game more accessible for new players over time. But I think like that, they're appealing to an audience that already knows what the game is. But if it's a new game and they are showing me not gameplay footage, right? And it's like, I mean, look at Anthem, right? I mean, that game was just total trash.
Fuck.
And the trailer was amazing. Like
Yes.
the trailer was so good. Like I was like, this looks so good. And then you realize that they've created this whole thing and they've engineered it to look like gameplay. Like that is, you have to be really, really of a particular mindset, like in that company to do that. Like that is borderline like illegal practice.
Yes.
Yeah.
You are
I
selling
think
a
it is illegal
as a
because
game that is not actually you're not actually selling that game.
that's
you're
false
telling people,
advertising,
"Here it
man."
is," and that's not what it is.
Yeah, false
So, yeah,
advertising.
That's an immediate turn off for me. If it's not real gameplay, then
What about the famous phrase? It's an open world to a lot to explore, or maybe the other one like make your choices. Your choices matter, and that kind of stuff. Whenever I hear that kind of stuff, I was like, "Oh shit, this is such a PR trailer. I will hate this game." Like, and I'm in love with games with actual choices. That's why I like the Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2. The 3, not so much with the ending, but whenever I hear like, okay, your choices matter, I know they won't matter. They won't fucking matter. Or, I don't know, build your own story. Bro, you don't have the budget to build my own story, man. It's like, that won't happen.
But
I think
that element is consistent in the last years, and it will I don't know. It's common in a lot of genres that don't need it to be that way. Maybe games like MMOs or Diablo or PoE can last 1 month, 3 months, or you can play it every day 8 hours. But not all the games need to be that way. But the people ask for that. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's expensive to acquire new games every time, and people want a game that represent the amount of money they paid for it, and don't find that often that kind of product, and the company wants to sell that game anyways and give you the says it has 1,000 hours or it has 3,000 hours of gameplay, and a lot of that hours are hollow gameplay that doesn't mean anything, but you have 3,000 hours of gameplay. And that systems repeats and repeats and repeats and repeats. It's a cycle that needs the community asking for it and the company giving the false idea of giving it that to the public.
yeah.
I have a few questions here that if I don't ask Drinkor and Kevin these questions, I'm gonna get killed. So now that I have two people who actually have a lot of knowledge in terms of mechanics and interactions in Path of Exile, I have to ask, let me see. What do you think? I will start with Drinkor. What is the worst league mechanic in Path of Exile 1 outside of Necropolis?
Including mechanics that haven't been added, or
In Path of Exile 1.
you mean just you mean league or a league mechanic?
League mechanic. It doesn't need to be like, for example, I don't know, it could be like an influence or any kind of mechanic introduced by a league. What do you think is the worst one so far?
Man, that's a hard one because I actually think there's quite a lot of mechanics that are really bland. Like,
No,
it's not necessarily that they're bad. They're just very boring or not particularly interesting. Like, for example, I don't think Ritual is a great mechanic. You just run around in circles. It's not particularly interesting. Ultimatum is kind of similar to that. Like, I know everybody was hyped for Ultimatum. I didn't really see it too much. Like, Ultimatum, by the way, was one of my favorite leagues, but it wasn't because of the league mechanic. It was just
The
because
cluster.
of the state of the game Like that was the first league that I played hardcore, for example. I had a really cool character that league. Like there was a lot of cool things that just meshed together. It wasn't particularly because of the league.
Ultimatum was the league that introduced the clusters?
No, that
Delirium.
was
That was Delirium.
Oh, Delirium,
That was
right.
like four leagues before that.
Yep. So,
Yeah.
Kevin, what about you? What do you think is the...
A lot of mechanics like dream courses are simple and not bad, but are simple. Like Harbinger.
Harbinger.
It's just kill mobs and drop currency. Like breaches need to be reworked. But it's funny because I don't like the state of that mechanic, but people loves the kill mob fast mechanic every time. If you put a puzzle before that, people hate it and don't like the effort that the developers put in that puzzle before you have to kill the mob. Legion was the best because you click one thing, a lot of mobs, you blast that mobs. I don't know is the bad, but a lot of mechanics are simple, and I don't know is it bad for the game.
Yeah, I think
A mechanic that go.
No, I mean, you're right. I must be one of those people, unfortunately. For me, one of the most fun I have, I'm going to be the black sheep here, but I fucking love Blight. I'm a Blight enjoyer.
Okay, Blight. Like I understand what you're saying, but it's just bad. Like the reason why it's bad, like it's not because I'm not telling you that you're wrong for like enjoying it or something, because I actually think it's really cool. But they should make it so that the towers are like, you know, the keystone that makes it so the towers do more damage and you do less damage.
Yep.
That should just be how it is. Like it should just be that the towers are the only thing that deals damage, right? And then because what happens is you're standing like. I mean, this is a big problem. You're standing there and the fucking mobs are just killing you whilst you're trying to build a tower.
Yep.
Like, come on, man.
To be fair, I made an entire rework of Blight, a video in my channel, where I reworked the entire League of Blight, and that was one of the things that I would change on Blight. Because if the fucking towers are doing the damage, I fucking hate being like stuck between the lanes with the monsters trying to kill, and the monster even have those fuckers proximity shields, and you're trying to click on the upgrade on the tower and you can't fucking click it. It's so fucking frustrating.
That keystone should also say like 80% less damage taken from blight monsters or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, but that should just be baseline. In my opinion, the blight mechanic should just be completely separate, especially in a blight map. If I go into a blighted map, like I should be able. I'm not. Why am I taking damage from monsters when I'm trying to build towers?
Yeah. I think I made a keystone in the passive tree of the map passive tree, which was basically you deal 0 damage and monsters deal 0 damage to you. Like you're focused on the towers and that's it, pretty much. But going back to the
people hated Blight League in that league. I remember a lot of people were very, very salty about the mechanic and didn't enjoy the mechanic. I was a new player in that time. I know very little about the game, and I questioned myself: is this a bad mechanic? But people didn't understand the mechanic, and now years later, a lot of people love Blight, and there are people that farms Blight and get a lot of money of currency and items. But in that moment, I remember a lot of people hated the mechanic of Blight. Indifferent to the Blight, I like it to play it some days, but I don't get crazy about the mechanic. But I see people a lot that loves Blight and always seek the the best build for Blight that turns to be minions because you don't.
I like the
do
mechanic.
anything.
I think it's a cool mechanic. I just think they did it wrong. Like that's
I think the things that people love about the mechanic is the same thing that people don't like about Blight. Is basically during Blight, if you enjoy building towers like tower defense from Warcraft 3 on the custom map, you love the league. But if you don't like building towers, there's nothing for you on that league. That happens to a lot of people. And even back then, there wasn't even that much if you like the league mechanic, because you don't have many options. Like you upgrade a tower to level 3 and then you make a meteor tower. You can do that in like 2 minutes, and then it was just doing the same tower over and over and over and over. And there was no ravaged maps. There was not many mechanics. It was like 2 or 3 towers, and that's pretty much it. So it was pretty bland as a mechanic. But I think that the people really liked it was not building the towers. I think that people really enjoy clicking all the fucking boxes at the end of the Blight.
Yeah.
That was a fun part. It was like a slot machine, like all the drop. Yeah.
So it's very complicated to get to that point where you can give a mechanic that is enjoyable, rewarding, and people like it in this way. You make Legion, it's simple as fuck and it's fun and have success in the community. People like it when it comes. But you have other mechanics that needs 2 or 3 steps before, and probably that needs a lot of work more than other mechanics that are more simple. But people don't like that type of mechanic, and then you are asking a system of Blight that it's more complex, and probably people is gonna hate it more because it's more complex. It's very difficult to hit the nail of the taste of the people.
And now we actually, well, you said that Ritual was a league that was boring because it was basically killing monsters. It was fun seeing at the loot then if we get something cool. It was like 99% of the things are shit, unless you got like something, how was this? An item with an implicit from, how this is it called? The synthesized items that they sell for a lot. But if it's not a synthesized item or something like that, the rest is pretty shit. But we are now having in Path of Exile 2 Ritual. So that was one of the confirmed leaks that are coming to actual Path of Exile 2. So if you have the power to actually change Ritual to be better, what do you think it will be like a good solution?
So I think that in Path of Exile 2, Ritual is already going to be better for one reason, and that's because I think that in general, ground loot is going to be improved in Path of Exile 2, because that's kind of something that they've been wanting to do for a long time. Is like, you know, you get a lower amount of drops, but the ones that you do get are hopefully meaningful to your character. Not always. It's not always going to be the case. You are still going to be vendoring a lot of items, but hopefully you get more items that you actually care about. And if it's the case that, you know, Ritual takes on that factor, so Ritual actually takes on the factor of having better ground loot in the fact that when you actually get offered that window at the end, and the rewards in there are things that you care about more often. Because, you know, right now it's like Ritual is just, oh my god, this league I did Ritual because I was playing a Righteous Fire Chieftain and I wanted the Penance Mark ring that got added in this patch, right? I was farming that. That's actually a great build that you can go now. And if you're playing SSF, you can play RF Chieftain. You can guarantee to farm that ring because it's actually quite easy to get. But yeah, so, you know, I was like, okay, I'm going to farm this. I ended up finding that the best strategy for Ritual is you skip every altar that isn't a nameless altar, right? And then when it's a nameless one, you do it. Because the nameless ones have the rings more often, and also they have guaranteed invites to the King in the Mist. So you just do the nameless altar, then you continuously re-roll and defer all of the invites, and then obviously if you get the ring that you want, you pick it up because it's quite cheap. But yeah, so doing a normal ritual and actually looking through the window of rewards is just, oh my god, it's awful, man. Like it slows you down so much. You're looking, you got to like, obviously, like you said, you look at all the synthesized items. You have to, because you might find a gem in the rough, right? But that is very rare. Like I have found a good item before in there. I've actually found an explode mace before in there when I was playing SSF, and then I made a build around it, which was pretty cool. Right, I found a mace with an explode implicit, which was that was fun.
Yeah, but there's no middle ground.
So
like
rare.
you found something that is worth 120 divines, or you find something that is worth 1 divine. There's nothing in the middle.
Yeah. It's just oftentimes like the most thing that happens. I think personally that the best way to do ritual is just like, because you want to like re-roll the thing to find the good loot, right? But what usually happens is you re-roll it and you looking for good loot and you end up with nothing.
Yep.
So the better way to do it is probably either do what I just said, where you just skip the ritual until you get the nameless one, if you're actually looking for something specific. Like for example, a lot of people will want to farm the King in the Mist for that jewel that he drops, right? The Light of Meaning.
What was taken was removed, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So,
that
they
is something that we
same
missed.
icon on it. Did you see they put the that with
the same one. They baited
Light
us.
of Meaning, right? They like merged the jewel with the one from Necropolis, so that's pretty cool. But I just think in general, like looking through that window of rewards is just, man, it was a fun mechanic on the League of Ritual. I remember I was thinking, man, this is cool. Like you can actually you can select your own reward. That's such a cool idea. And over time, I've realized that actually this is not something that I enjoy interacting with, because it takes me so long looking through that stuff that like with it over the course of 4 maps, I could probably have done 6 maps if I didn't do Ritual, or even 7 maps. Right, but it takes so long just looking through the rewards. Like, it's just, I don't know, man.
Yep. Well, I will leave you with one last question, and then I think we should wrap things up. I have other things to do also, but this was a great talk. Honestly, I don't want to end, but
yeah, it's been great fun.
Let me ask you this. The amount of reading and thinking involved in understanding a game, such as Path of Exile, could be quite exhausting from time to time. So, do you have any hobbies or activities outside of gaming that you can enjoy and disconnect to recharge a little bit? This is a question for you both, so go ahead, one at a time.
I can go first. I mean,
sure.
I like to just get myself out of it and just like have a workout. I either do like stair running. I just run up and down the stairs for like 30 minutes.
Oh my god, I fucking hate leg day.
Yeah. Or I'll just go for a walk, or like I've got a pull-up bar thing, right? Like a pull-up mate type thing. I'll just do something like that. Just take myself out of it completely. Because for me, like I said to you earlier, when I'm playing Path of Exile or any game really, like I am all in, man. I'm such a fucking degenerate when I'm like actually in there, right? When the new league comes out, I'm just like a goblin, you know. Just like, I can only play that game, right? It's just like the only thing I'm thinking of, like. That's just what I'm like. Like I'm an all or nothing kind of person. So I think being able to just like take yourself out of it and you know just get your headspace cleared basically is a good thing.
So you are all jacked up, right? Like you are a Matthew in disguise.
No, it's more a case of like I just want to like do something to like at least not just sit down all the time, right? Like I also have a standing desk, so like I can wind it up and I can.
Oh, nice! That's super good.
Like a couple of days ago, I bought a treadmill that goes under the desk. It's like a standing desk. You probably see like Captain Lance has it, right? He's screaming. He's playing Path of Exile while he's walking.
Yeah,
it's so
you're
funny.
Copying his build. You're copying his build. Nice.
Yeah.
So you have one of those things that it's stuck on the door to do the pull-ups and that kind of stuff.
No, it's a self-standing thing.
Okay.
It's not on the. Those things can be really bad. You can like fall down and like really hurt your knees on those things, like
or destroy the frame.
It's like a proper like fully standing thing. It's a good bit of kit.
Okay, Kevin, what about you?
For me, in my small free time, because I have a normal work, and then I have to create content because I like that create content, and it's a hobby, but it consumes a lot of time. In my small free time, I like to watch movies with my friends and disconnect from all that. I have 36 years, and a lot of my friends have families and children. It's interesting talking with them about games, about their perspective, and have quality time with them.
So they are playing Minions in real life while you are playing in game.
The people with 2 wives and 13 children that can play the game, and
They are desecrating in the living room.
to see what is the point of view of all these games, and if they are hearing of the Path of Exile 2, and they are planning to play or no, the Diablo or all the titles that are popular.
Okay. Well, guys, I think we're gonna leave it like this. It was an amazing time. Honestly, this is a second one, and I need to do a third one as soon as I can, because it's really a blast, and it's really nice seeing passionate people like you talking and having a good time. Obviously, I have a million other questions that I didn't ask, but I think it went pretty well. I don't know, you guys, if you can give me some feedback later, or you want to give some feedback now, but hopefully you have a good time here.
It was fun.
Thanks.
It was really fun.
Yes.
Chat,
Thanks for the invitation, and thanks
You're welcome.
to Dreamcore for collaborating in this.
Awesome chat,
in this.
Kevin. It was nice.
Yeah, nice. Thank you.
Do you want to tell the people watching and later on YouTube where to find your content?
Sure, Kevin, go first.
I'm Stickmaster Kevin in Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and you can find me there. And I do content especially for new players in Path of Exile. I do guides, builds, and farming strategies. That's it.
Okay,
Yeah,
so if you are from the Spanish community, go to Kevin. He will have all the reasons for you to not complain about not getting a mage blood on week 1. So go annoy him on the comment section.
We need to do another podcast talking about the community and the ridiculous response in the videos and guys.
Oh yeah, I get a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah, the build doesn't work. Have you seen the video? No. Okay. It was a good time.
Yes.
What about you, Dreamcore?
Yeah, so Dreamcore_GG on YouTube and Twitter. I just do videos about mechanics and unique items and stuff like that. Occasionally I do a build guide. I think I've only done one build guide in like 240 videos, so don't expect many build guides, but yeah. Maybe that changes in PoE too, who knows?
Who knows? Maybe you do like one and you start thinking like, fuck, never again. But that could happen.
I mean, I made one build guide for like a build that I just really enjoyed, and it was like kind of unique, so I thought that's cool. But
yes, just so you know, if you make a build guide every single league, you will have to update that, or you're gonna get like a million messages.
I've had loads of comments on there like since then, because the worst thing was it was a build during Trial of the Ancestors, and it used loads of tattoos, and like every league, people just go on there and they're like, "Can I play this build this league?" And I just type no.
But because that was the worst question, man. I did a guide with a ranger, and people, I can do it in Zion, I can do it in Marau. No, you can't do that. I can put that in. No, you can't do that. A lot of questions. The builds are nice and are popular videos, but the answering all the questions is very heavy.
Yeah,
it is. I mean, I try my best to answer questions, because obviously, like the type of content that I make, I do get a lot of questions. But I try my best to answer them. But it's tough to keep up with, man. Like I'm sure I miss quite a few of them, I should think. But it's just one of those things.
Okay, so we're gonna leave it like this. Thank you again for coming, Dreamcore, Kevin. So
thanks.
To everyone watching, go follow these guys. If you're from the Spanish community or the English community, you can actually check the content from both of them. They're gonna be amazing. For Path of Exile 2 also, I know Kevin's gonna play. I know Drinkor is already doing videos about that. So go follow them, and I think we will see in the next episode. Thank you guys for coming. Hopefully, we'll see you again.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.